Both Abram and Lot were prosperous. Soon their herdsmen started arguing over grazing rights. Abram said,
"We shouldn't be fighting. After all, we're family. There is plenty of land here. You choose. You go one way and I'll go the other."
Lot knew which direction he wanted to go. The Jordan Valley had plenty of water, and it reminded him of Egypt. He'd often say to himself,
"It's like the Lord's garden."
So he chose the entire Jordan Valley. He set up his tent near Sodom, even though the men there were extremely wicked. Then the Lord said to Abram,
"Look to the north and to the south. Look to the east and the west. I'm giving it all to you and your descendants. Get up, walk over all this land. It's yours."
Sometime later, an alliance of 4 city kingdoms made war with the 5 cities around Sodom. The alliance won the battle and took all their possessions, food, and many of the people, including Lot. When Abram heard about this, he took his 318 trained servants and chased after the alliance. He attacked them during the night and totally defeated them. He then took Lot, all the people, and their possessions back to Sodom. Abram met Melchizedek when he got there. Melchizedek was the king of Salem, but he was also a priest of the Most High God. He said,
"Abram is blessed by the Most High God, who created the heaven and earth. Give praise to the Most High God, because it is He who has given you victory over your enemies."
Abram gave Melchizedek 1/10 of everything. The king of Sodom said to Abram,
"Give me the people, and you keep all the possessions."
Abram said,
"No, I'm not taking any of it. I'm giving it all back to you, except what the servants ate during the campaign. I never want you to say, 'I made Abram rich.'"
With that, Abram and his servants went home. Soon afterwards, the Lord came to him in a vision and said,
"I'm your shield and exceeding great reward."
Abram answered,
"Lord, I still don't have a son, but I have a servant that is like a son to me. Let him inherit your promises to me."
"No, you'll have a son, and he'll be your heir. Abram, look at the stars in the sky. Your descendants will be as hard to count as those stars."
This seemed impossible to Abram, but he believed it, and God was pleased. After Abram had lived in Canaan for 10 years, Sarai became concerned that she hadn't yet had a child like the Lord promised. She said to her husband,
"I have a solution to this problem. Go to bed with my slave Hagar. When she delivers a child, it'll be the same as if I had the child."
Abram agreed and did as she said. But as soon as Hagar became pregnant, she started acting like she was better than Sarai. This made Sarai angry. She said to Abram,
"You're the one who has caused all my problems. You got my slave pregnant, and now she thinks she's better than me."
Abram said,
"She's your slave. Do whatever you want with her."
So Sarai started beating Hagar and humiliating her in any way she could. Finally, the slave ran away. She came to a spring of water and collapsed next to it. The angel of the Lord said to her, "Hagar, where are you going?"
"Oh, Lord, I'm running away from Sarai, my mistress."
No, you shouldn't do that. God has heard your crying out in pain. Go back and submit to Sarai, even if she beats you. You'll have a son, and you're to call him Ishmael. He'll be a fighting man and be at odds with everyone. I'll multiply your descendants so much that you wouldn't be able to count them."
Hagar was amazed and said,
"I have seen the God who sees me." So she named the spring, "The Well of the Living God who Sees Me."
She then went back and submitted herself to Sarai. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar gave birth to her son. He named the child Ishmael, which means God hears. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord said to him,
"You'll be the father of many nations, and some of your descendants will be kings. Therefore I'm changing your name to Abraham, which means the father of many nations. I will be with you, and I will give this land to you and your descendants. As a sign of these promises, you are to circumcise all the men."
Then the Lord said to him,
"From now on, your wife will be called Sarah. I will bless her, and she'll bear you a son."
Abraham laughed and said,
How is it possible for a man who is 100 years old and a woman who is 90 years old to have a child? Perhaps Ishmael could inherit all your promises to me.
God said,
No, Sarah will have a son, and you'll call his name Isaac. I'll give my promises to him and his descendants, and I'll be their God, and the whole earth will be blessed because of them. But I will bless Ishmael as well. I will also make a great nation of him. 12 tribes will come from him.
Sometime later, Abraham was sitting at the door of his tent. Suddenly, he noticed 3 men standing nearby and realized that one of them was the Lord. He rushed over to them and said,
Sirs, please come sit under this tree. I'll give you some water so you can wash your feet. Then you rest while I prepare a meal. After you have eaten, you may continue on your way.
They said,
Yes, we'll stay for a while.
Abraham rushed into the tent and told Sarah to make some bread for his guests. He then went to the field and selected a choice calf and gave it to his servants so they could use it to prepare a meal. As soon as the food was ready, Abraham served it to his guests and then stood back and watched them eat. As they ate, the Lord said to Abraham,
Where's Sarah, your wife?
She's in the tent.
The Lord said,
I'll come back in about a year. At that time, Sarah will have given birth to a son.
Sarah was listening to this from inside the tent. She was 90 years old, so she laughed inside herself when she heard that she was going to give birth to a son. She said,
That's impossible. I'm too old to give birth to a child.
The Lord asked Abraham,
Why did Sarah laugh? Is anything too hard for the Lord? I will come back, and she will have given birth to a child.
When Sarah heard this, she ran out and said,
Lord, I didn't laugh.
Ah, but you did laugh.
Soon Sarah found that she was expecting a child. As the stories of Abram and Lot, Sarai and Hagar, and ultimately Abraham and Sarah unfold, they leave us with profound lessons that transcend time. Abram and Lot, both prosperous, faced a conflict between their herdsmen over grazing rights. Rather than allowing the conflict to fester, Abram took the initiative to resolve it peacefully, emphasizing the importance of family and mutual respect. By allowing Lot to choose his land first, Abram demonstrated selflessness and faith in God's provision, a reminder that harmony and generosity often lead to greater blessings. Lot chose the fertile Jordan Valley, settling near Sodom despite the wickedness of its inhabitants. This decision serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of prioritizing material abundance over moral and spiritual considerations. In contrast, Abram's journey was marked by divine promises and blessings. His encounter with Melchizedek, the king of Salem and priest of the Most High God, reinforced the notion that true victory and prosperity come from God. Abram's refusal to accept wealth from the king of Sodom highlighted his integrity and reliance on God as the source of his success. Abram's unwavering faith was further tested when God promised him countless descendants despite his childlessness. His belief in God's promise, even when it seemed impossible, teaches us the importance of faith and trust in divine timing. Sarai's impatience for a child led her to offer her slave Hagar to Abram, resulting in the birth of Ishmael. This decision, driven by human impatience and lack of trust, brought strife and conflict. Yet even in this turmoil, God's compassion was evident. The angel's encounter with Hagar at the spring demonstrated that God hears and sees our pain, providing comfort and assurance even in difficult circumstances. As Abram aged, God's promises remained steadfast. Renamed Abraham, he was assured of becoming the father of many nations, and Sarai, renamed Sarah, was promised a son despite her old age. Their laughter and initial disbelief turned into joyous fulfillment when Sarah conceived Isaac, underscoring that nothing is too hard for the Lord. The stories of Abram and Lot, Sarai and Hagar, Abraham and Sarah teach us about faith, integrity, and the importance of trusting in God's promises. They remind us to resolve conflicts peacefully, to act with generosity and integrity, and to maintain faith even when the path ahead seems impossible. Ultimately, these narratives reassure us that God's timing is perfect, His promises are true, and His care encompasses all aspects of our lives, guiding us through trials and triumphs alike.